Rosalind Calvin. I am the middle school admission counselor, and I wanted to spend a little time introducing you to some other faculty members and students that you'll be seeing soon. I recommend, if you can, go in the upper right corner of your screen and click Gallery View shortly. As soon as this slide goes away, you'll be able to see all of our panelists. And I just want to we have about 15 minutes for this piece. I'm going to ask all of the panelists to please unmute themselves and show us their video. And I'm going to have them each introduce themselves first, starting with Aoife, who I think you're not unmuted yet, Aoife. So
Yes.
there you go. And then we'll pass it along from person to person.
Okay. Hi, I'm Aoife Lennon, and I'm in 7th grade. I've been going to Key School. This is my 10th year, so I started in pre-K 3.
Hi, my name is Maiwa. This is I'm in 7th grade, and this is my 7th year at Key.
Hi, my name is Mina Ramani. I'm in 8th grade, and this will be my 3rd year at Key.
Hello, I am Grayson Martine. I'm in 8th grade, and this is going to be my 9th year at Key.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Moore, and I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Key.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Judd, and I am the chair of the Learning Department, and I'm a learning specialist in the middle school, and I am in my 15th year at Key and the parent of 4 Key School lifers.
Good morning. We met earlier. My name is Louis Van Wambeck. I am a 7th and 8th grade science teacher and the 8th grade team leader.
All right, and you've all met Dave Magnus, the head of the middle school, who will join us also. So I'm going to start by asking each panelist a specific question based on sort of our years of hosting in-person open houses and sort of a knowledge of what typical questions we get. But while I'm doing that, I'll ask all attendees, if you have questions, please go ahead and put them into the chat. We may hit them with the ones we've anticipated, but if not, we'll try and get to as many as we can. We are going to try and be mindful of your time on this gorgeous Saturday, though, and keep this pretty tight, probably about 15 minutes or so. So first, I'm going to ask Ms. Moore to just talk us a little bit about, we have a culture that's conducive to learning at Key, and I wondered if you could just shed a little bit of light on the culture, your description of it.
Sure. One of the reasons why I joined the Key community, first as a parent and then as a faculty member, was because of the culture at Key. People take care of each other like a family, right? It's like a small family. And I think a part of that is making sure that there's a space where everyone can show up as their authentic self. And so a part of my work as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is I'm having those conversations and helping to create and maintain a space where everyone gets to show up as themselves, which is also in line with developing critical thinkers. Things around the world impact us at school. And so one of the things that I work with the teachers and the leaders at our school to do is to make sure that we're creating brave and safe learning environments. And so that could look like professional development for our staff members, for our faculty. It could also look like me co-teaching in the classrooms with teachers. It looks like me supporting students in different activities. And then also me advising around policies. For creating these safe and brave spaces. And so the beauty of it is our students learning and playing together, our students solving problems, and our students talking about things that are happening in the world around them, and us as the adults empowering them and reminding them about the agency that they have now as students and as they will have as they go out into the world.
Wonderful, thank you. Next, I'm going to ask Grayson to speak a little bit about a question we often get, and that is, what is homework like at Key?
So homework, I'd say, all right, so in middle school, we get homework about every day and through the weekends too. And it's probably about 1.5, 2.5 hours on average, I'd say. And in the normal school year, we're able to get started actually during school. So we have advisory. We're still, able to do a little bit of homework at school. But yeah, I mean, I'd say homework is, a pretty important part of the school curriculum.
Wonderful. Thank you, Grayson. Now I'm going to ask Mina because she is the newest member, even though you've been at Key a couple of years, but you're someone who came into the middle school as you entered Key. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be new at Key and sort of what that experience was like?
Yeah, so I came into Key in 6th grade, and my transition was really, really easy. All the students were so welcoming, and they all tried to include me in everything. And I think by my first month at Key, I was already very, very comfortable there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ms. Judd, can you talk a little bit about academic support at Key, please? Make sure you're unmuted, please.
Sorry, had
That's
to
okay.
unmute. Yeah, we in the middle school at Key, like across the other divisions, we have support for student learning embedded across all the disciplines. In the middle school, we have 2 full-time learning specialists who partner with the teachers in all of the other core curricular areas. And we work with students, parents, and faculty to support student learning. Every student has an advisor and is part of an advisory group, and that advisor guides that student through his or her academic work and emotional learning across the year. Every day, we have, I think Dave mentioned, we have bookends of advisory periods at the beginning and end of each day, during which students meet with their advisors and have the opportunity to meet with their teachers for extra help or for enrichment opportunities. And the learning specialists, the 2 of us are able to partner with teachers doing some of what Jennifer mentioned. We co-teach sometimes we work with students one-on-one, sometimes we work with small groups of students. And we both teach classes that help students learn study strategies and develop a toolbox of learning strategies that they can take with them when they move into high school.
Wonderful. Thank you. So Maiwa, I like to describe Key as a community of individuals. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the ability to be yourself at Key and that side of the culture?
Yes. I think one of the greatest things about Key is just the ability to express yourself in your own way. And Key does a really good job of making you really find your own self. So I think one of the greatest ways to do that is just to be able to wear what you want to wear and not have an actual strict uniform code or anything. And just the ability to wear what you want to wear each day. Like there's nothing, I mean, there is like some restrictions, but like what you really like, what is comfortable with you, you can wear to school that day. And it's just good. Like it's just like freedom to have, just a good freedom to have.
Wonderful. Thank you. Aoife, could you talk a little bit about extracurricular activities, specifically athletics and other activities, please?
Yeah, so of course, this year we did not have activities, sadly, but usually every year, every Friday, we get to pick a specific activity. Like one activity is preschool pals, where you get to help out with the little kids, and then there's one called cardboard boats with Mr. Van Wamback, and you get to build a cardboard boat. And there are a bunch of others that are really fun. But also for athletics, what I really love is that it's year round and there are so many different options. Like for fall, you have cross country, soccer, field hockey, equestrian, sailing. And then for spring, you also have baseball, lacrosse, and tennis. And then for winter, of course, basketball and swimming. And I love to I just love to do sports year round, so it's really great for me to have that like opportunity, and that like my school gets to provide me like sports, and that's just something that I really love.
Wonderful. Thank you. So Mr. Von Wembeck, last question, sort of pre-prepared, and then we'll go to some of those coming in the chat. But you alluded occasionally in your presentation to the outdoor education program. Can you expand a little bit upon that? And then maybe let's have any of the students chime in if you have some favorite experiences from the outdoor program.
Absolutely. Aoife set me up perfectly with the cardboard boats because thank you for that plug. And as Maya, I'm looking at you now and thinking how I think you're the reigning cardboard boat champion, aren't you there, Maya? Yep. So that's just one example, and maybe even a smaller one of the extensive outdoor education programs that are offered at Key. And probably a good reminder that even though I'm going to mention some of the bigger programs, there are a ton of opportunities on campus and even close to campus, with the beach being very close to us, Quiet Waters and Fusco being close, to get outdoors and study from a scientific standpoint, to do things like the canoe portages, which the sixth grade is doing now. And then the bigger trips, which the seventh graders and eighth graders and fifth and sixth graders take part on, like are integral to the curriculum. For instance, Point Lookout, which is the end of seventh grade, and I say this because I'm looking at Aoife and Maya, and Point Lookout is a huge part of our curriculum, and it's partly an ecosystem study where students go down to that state park for 4 days, 3 nights. But it's a lot of it's collaboration. A lot of it is taking on responsibilities to cook, to clean. My first year at Key, and helping to lead that trip from a scientific perspective, I was absolutely amazed. We drove down there in buses and some U-Hauls, for lack of a better term. And when the big truck showed up, I was thinking to myself, how is this all going to get put up? And we're supposed to have 2 dining halls, a kitchen, 2 kitchens, and all within this camping loop. And was just amazed to see the seventh grade delve in, and within an hour, we had this entire camp of kitchens and dining rooms and things to be in, places to do scientific experiments, and was just absolutely amazed at sort of the way that program sets you up as a seventh grader, eighth grader as well, to really take responsibility and chip in and be part of something that's much bigger than just you at that point. And that was really cool. And I'll never forget that experience, my first experience doing that. In the eighth grade, Old Rag is also a similar experience. It's a challenge. It's also a science trip, as well as there are historic aspects to that, and geological. But also the eighth grade trip is, students are helping each other to get up this mountain, really, and helping teachers. And it's humbling, even from a teacher's perspective, because there's parts that we can't get up without their help, and vice versa, and they can't get up without helping each other. So that collaboration is important. That advocating for yourself and saying, I can't do this alone, is one of the things I love about Key School. And that's not just the students. I've been really impressed with how well these seventh and eighth graders, and even the fifth and sixth graders, advocate for themselves and say, I need help with this, or I want more, or just asking. And the adults are the same. It's modeled for the students, especially in those outdoor environments where where we all chip in sort of our best qualities and rely on others to help us get through those other things. So it's a very human part of this curriculum, and really it's a wonderful thing. And probably my favorite part of the curriculum is just doing some of those trips in any form that we do them. The final trip is probably the most famous trip at Key, and it's the Y Island trip for the eighth graders. And that trip is a 6-day, 5-night trip out on Y Island. And that again is a trip that really the students have a lot of self-responsibility to make the trip run correctly, and to cook and to clean, and to make sure that things go as they should, and they always do, as well as a lot of challenges that they become proud of, and they work together to do. So it's a very strong part of this Key School community, something that probably attracts a lot of people to the community. And even if you may not be like somebody that's like, oh, outdoor education is my thing, I think Key does a great job of welcoming people at any point into it where you feel comfortable helping or joining at different points. Because yeah, there are some people that are really into the outdoors, and they might come in as like scouts or something like that. And there are people that they come in and it's new to them. And I think it's neat to watch those people especially grow into like, oh, wow, this is neat. Or, okay, this is a real application of what we're doing in this class. So it's a wonderful part of this program. And I don't know if any of the students want to chip in, but that's my take on it. Maya, he gives a thumbs up.
So I think one of my favorite things about outdoor education is just the way that you can collaborate with your classmates, especially not being at school. You're like really out in the world doing your own thing with your classmates. And it's just a good way to learn how to work together as a class. And I think one of the best things, or like what every single student thinks about when they're going on outdoor trips that are like one night or more, is that they're gonna be away from their parents, and that just gives them like it just makes them feel like they have a type of freedom or something, and it's just really fun. And I remember in the beginning for North Bay, which is a outdoor trip you would usually take in sixth grade, but now you can't take it. But I think next year they might have it. But for North Bay, like it's a 2 night, 3 day trip, and you learn how to collaborate with your students, and you go on kayaking trips or canoeing trips, I think. And it's just really fun to just work together with your friends, like out of school, and you learn a lot on North Bay.
Awesome. Anyone else want to talk about outdoor? Eva?
Well, I think one of my favorite things about Key is the outdoor trips because it's something that's like really special that they do, and they try to incorporate like multiple trips per year. Of course, this year is different, but last year we had a lot of fun trips like North Bay and in fifth grade too. So I just really love that, especially since our grade is like small, like around like our grade I think is 60 kids. Um, it's nice to like, even though we're split up, it's nice to like get to know like our kids. It's easier that way, and I think the outdoor trips are just always really fun.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to quickly run through just a couple of the questions that I've seen come in the chat, again, to keep it short, and just know that at the end, I'm going to close with a little bit of detail about the admission process and sort of how we're affected by COVID. So I'm going to hold that one for last and I'll handle it. But in the meantime, maybe Mr. Magnus can talk a little bit about how many kids are in each grade, size of the middle school.
Sure. So on average, there are roughly 48 to 54 students in a grade. Sometimes there are a few more, sometimes a few less. The average class size for our classes is anywhere from 16 to 18, and there are some subjects where we have more than 3 sections in a subject where there could be as few as 8 or 9 students in a class, or 10 or 12 students in a math class. So, but that's generally the size of each grade, which ends up creating about 200 to 210 students in the middle school altogether.
Okay, thank you. And just I'm going to do one quick one for maybe another student or two, is back to the homework question about how much of that do you typically get done during school? Is most of it during school or most at home? Let's do Mina.
So I think it usually just depends on the student and how much attention you can put to your homework. But for me, at least during advisory, since I have a 45-minute time span to do my homework, I usually could do around half of it at school. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Maiwa.
I remember last year I was doing basketball for winter, and I think it was really fun to just sort of learn how to manage your time well, because I remember it was like fifth period to advisory and then to basketball. So I think one of the things I learned most was even during lunch breaks and snack breaks, you can go up to the FKB library and you can get work done and you can just study. So I think I used my time and managed it really well. And I just used advisory. And I think most of the time I was even able to get all of my work done in advisory. So I would have no work. So it would just be basketball and then home. And I think it's just advisory is a really, really good way to also seek help from teachers. So if you're in a homeroom, you can be like, let's say, Miss Drayton, can I go to Miss Riedel's room to get extra help with the math homework? And then you go over and then you get extra help. And it's 30 to 45 minutes is a lot of time to get work done. So it's just a really good way.
Awesome, thank you. Well, for sake of time, I hate to cut off, but I'm going to go ahead and sort of move into just some of the housekeeping about applications, but I'm going to catch a couple of the questions. One was about the student faculty ratio. That does not include staff. So it really is, as I hope you heard from students, students really get to know their teachers and have a lot of access to teachers. And it's a very mutually respectful relationship that I think lends itself to kids being able to advocate for themselves. So briefly, I want to talk a little bit about the admission process, and I'm available, obviously, to connect with any of you individually for you to take a tour or to learn more. But I just wanted to talk about the process. Our application is available online through a system called Ravenna that you'll be able to, hopefully is very user-friendly and you can walk through. But the process is fairly similar to what it's been in the past. We're going to be looking for transcripts from students. We're going to be looking for standardized testing. We're more flexible with what standardized testing we can use. We'll use something that comes forward in your transcripts if possible, but we'll talk about that on a case-by-case basis, depending on what comes through. We'll also look for references from teachers. I'll do a brief interview with students if we don't meet on a tour, but the biggest piece that's missing, I think, is the opportunity for students to get to spend a day visiting, kind of living the life of a Key School student. So we really are open to try and replicate that process or get you to meet some students and get a sense for the culture in any way possible. Hopefully this was a first start. I'm always so energized by the enthusiasm of our students and how comfortable they are speaking, and just what I see when I walk around and what I see as a parent for over 15 years now with 4 kids at Key is just a real comfort. They're comfortable in their own shoes and they're comfortable with a little discomfort, which is good. They are challenged. They like the challenge. They feel comfortable asking for help when they need it. And I think hopefully that was borne out in what you heard. So finally, I'm going to pass this off to Matthew Nespol, our head of school.